We spend so much of our energy trying to control our lives, right? Fighting every little frustration that pops up. But what if the real path to actually gaining control is to let go? I know, it sounds completely backward, but we're about to explore why this counterintuitive idea might just be the most powerful tool you have. So, does this list look a little familiar? The spilled coffee when you're already late, the computer crashing right before a deadline, hitting every single red light on your way to an important meeting. These are those small, daily battles that can just leave you feeling totally drained and powerless. It feels like a constant struggle, doesn't it? But here's a wild thought. What if our deep-seated instinct to push back, to force things to go our way, to wrestle these frustrations into submission, what if that is the real source of our stress? What if the fight itself is the problem? Now, this isn't just about feeling better in the moment. It actually goes much deeper. Research shows that the strategies we use to cope with these daily frustrations are directly tied to our self-esteem. I mean, think about that. How you handle a traffic jam can literally shape how you see yourself. Take a look at this data from a study on nurses and talk about a high-stress profession. It found a positive link between self-esteem and strategies like actually solving the problem. Makes sense. But look at the bottom half. Avoidance, escape, and self-blame all had a negative link. So the very strategies a lot of us default to when we feel out of control can actually be chipping away at our own self-worth. So we've all heard the advice a million times. Just let it go. It sounds so simple, but in the heat of the moment, when you feel that frustration rising in your chest, it feels pretty much impossible. How do you actually do it? How do you flip that switch? Well, there's a classic Zen story that just illustrates this perfectly. Two monks are traveling, and they come to a river where a young woman needs help crossing. The older monk picks her up, carries her across, and sets her down. Hours later, the younger monk, who's been fuming this whole time, finally explodes, "You broke our vows by touching a woman!" The older monk just smiles and says, "Little brother, I let go of her 10 miles back. Are you still carrying her?" That story just perfectly illustrates a technique called releasing. You can think of it like mental judo. See, in judo, you don't meet an opponent's force with your own brute strength. You yield and you redirect their energy. Releasing is the mental equivalent. You learn to yield to the feeling in order to gain control over it. The crucial difference here boils down to wanting versus intention. Wanting creates what's called an overpush. It's that desperate, white-knuckled feeling of, I have to get this, which, ironically, usually blocks your goal. I mean, think about trying to sleep. The more you desperately want to sleep, the more awake you get, right? But an intention is calm. It leads to practical steps without all the distress, which frees you up to actually achieve your goal. Okay, so that's the theory. But how does this mental shift from wanting to intention actually work inside our own heads? Let's break down the mechanics here. The releasing technique uses a concept called the monitor. This is just the part of your mind that's constantly scanning your environment, checking out information, and deciding how to respond. The best way to visualize it is like a lighthouse beacon sweeping across the landscape. When you're calm and you're centered, that lighthouse beam has a nice, wide, sweeping arc. It picks up everything. You can see the whole picture, you're aware of all your options, and you can make clear, creative decisions. But the moment you get hit with a strong negative feeling, anger, fear, frustration, that beacon narrows down dramatically. You get tunnel vision. It's like a rabbit frozen by a snake, so focused on the threat that it can't see all the escape routes right next to it. That's what stress does to our monitor. It literally hides the solutions from us. Okay, let's see how this works in the real world. Here's a case study about a woman whose coworker would deliberately mispronounce her name in a humiliating way day after day, and it was driving her absolutely crazy. So, using this technique, she didn't try to let go of her goal of being safe or respected. Instead, she asked herself this very specific question. Could I let go of wanting to protect myself? Just the feeling. See? That's the mental judo. She wasn't giving up. She was letting go of the desperate, energy-draining struggle. And the result was pretty incredible. First, she felt an immediate sense of relief. That internal pressure was just gone. But then something amazing happened on the outside. After a few days, the coworker just stopped. When he could no longer get a reaction from her, the behavior lost its power. It just wasn't interesting to him anymore. And let's be crystal clear here. This is not resignation. It's the total opposite. Resignation is passively giving up.
Releasing is an active choice to stop wasting energy fighting things you can't control, so you can focus that energy on the one thing you can, your own response. Remember those high self-esteem strategies from the nurse study? This is the path back to them, to effective problem solving, because your mind is no longer trapped in that narrow, stressed out state.
It all really comes down to this powerful idea. When we let go of wanting to control, we cannot no longer be controlled. So I'll leave you with this to think about. That feeling of overpush, that desperate need for something to be different. What's one want that's draining your energy right now? And could you, just for a moment, try letting go of the feeling of wanting it?